Hi, we're Ember Weekend. I'm Chase McCarthy.
And I'm Jonathan Jackson, and yeah, that sounded a little bit like the old intro, didn't it? I kind of miss that, like the old like radio car salesman kind of voice that I used to do, and then the Ember Run Loop joke. I feel like we still get a little bit of we get some comments about that every once in a while, saying like, hey, what happened to the Run Loop joke?
Right? Yeah, people miss it, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't blame them.
Got to come up with some more slick Ember puns.
Yeah, really, we need our listener base to help us out with the puns, because it's not my forte, honestly. I honestly, like, I have no idea. The Run Loop thing it came to me in a dream. Honestly, I don't know how. Lightning in a bottle. Anyways, so we're Ember Weekend. We like to cover newsy type things, and sometimes some stuff that we've been working on personally. We're broadcasting out of HashRocket HQ, where we've returned from Boston, Providence, and everywhere else that we've been, and we're back at the beach. Super excited, and this episode is called something. We're gonna come up with it as we go, so we'll backfill the title. So enjoy.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is Ember Exam. If you were at Wicked Good, or if you saw, caught any of the talks or anything like that, Trent Willis gave this amazing talk about testing and how LinkedIn used some testum tricks in order to, or not really tricks, built-in behavior that kind of was buggy before, I guess, and now is fixed to seriously speed up their tests.
Yeah, I think the numbers that he mentioned were like from 45-minute test run to like a 3-minute test run or something like that, which seems like a pretty drastic difference. And he did so with a project alongside a project that he calls Ember Exam, which is basically a drop-in replacement for Ember Test. So you can basically install this add-on and then just use it in place of all of the Ember Test commands. So it has its own server, and it also has some commands that are really nice, such as randomization. So one of the things that he mentioned kind of extensively in the talk was where a lot of tests have implicit behavior, especially around initializers. I think maybe we talked about this briefly in the last week's episode, but in initializers, there can be some like order dependencies in your tests, and randomizing your test suite kind of helps expose some of these things. This is something that's probably really familiar to you if you use RSpec, where you basically set it to random, and then anytime you get a flickering test failure, you can take the seed number and rerun that exact order again. So it's the same idea here. You just run the randomize command, and its flag is just --random. So it's Ember Exam --random, and that'll print out the test run, and then also the seed UID. So it's a really neat feature.
Yeah, this is going to be really helpful when you have your tests like running in a CI and you notice like some flickering test, and you just go in there, and usually the CIs will print this stuff out, and you go in and copy the seed out, and you can run it locally. Really helpful.
Right. And then the next thing, this is one of a few different ways that that's actually more of a sustainability kind of like testing practice, basically trying to make sure that your tests are all atomic. So yeah, randomizing helps with test sustainability, but the talk was primarily focused around performance benefits, and there's a couple different tools that Ember Exam provides. One is called the split command, and the split command allows you to split up your test into basically different sections. So if you have 2 tests and you say split 2, you're going to have one of those tests in each of the splits, which he calls partitions. So once you split, you can say Ember Exam split 2, and then -- partition 1, and then that will run just the first test. So just the first split.
So the other thing you can do with splitting is you can just say -- parallel, and that'll say, if you split into 3 groups, parallel will put them into 3 different browser instances to be run simultaneously. So if you're running this in like headless Chrome, you would see, in your testum window, it'd be 3 different Chrome instances would start up. Or if you're running it in actual Chrome, you'd actually get 3 browsers that would spin up.
Yeah, which is super cool. And once again, this brought their test suite down from 45. I think he said there was some number of like 10,000 tests, and several thousand of them were acceptance tests. So, I mean, speeding up the test suite is a really big win. He also talked about some metrics around developer productivity and how it gets lessened every additional minute of test suite runtime by a significant portion. So, yeah, so this seems like a lot of really easy wins. It's definitely an add-on that I recommend giving a whirl, seeing if you can work it into your CI. It looks like it has really easy CI integration. So all in all, I think this is a huge win for any even moderately sized, maybe small sized acceptance test. There's no reason not to split it up to make it just a little bit faster. So even on a small scale, I think it still gives you some wins. So really cool. So the next one we just want to mention kind of quickly, and that is that the Acorns site, which is I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chase, it's an investing site, right? It's about basically, it's kind of like Betterment, or what you've been investigating a lot of these things, yeah?
Yeah, so Acorns was actually the one that started me out looking at these kind of sites. It's like for like micro investments. They round up every swipe of your debit card, they'll round it up to the nearest dollar and invest that money into an account. And so Acorns is like one of the sites that kind of got big really quick. So it's a pretty cool little site.
Yeah, it's very neat. It's a wonderful site. The marketing site's really, really nice. And recently it was put onto Fastboot. So if you're looking for a site that kind of gives you an idea of what Fastboot is like and how it can be on a marketing page, check out Acorns.com. And yeah, hashtag not a sponsor. Side note.
Right. Yeah. It's not like Twitter. You see ads all the time for Acorns on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's how I learned of it. I mean, those ads are definitely working. It got me looking at investing at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely a really interesting concept, and I really, really like the fact that it's a large site running Fastboot by default. I think that's really cool. So definitely check it out and do some performance benchmarking. Test it out, and well, maybe that's not a good thing to advocate against a production site. Anyways, you should check it out. It looks really cool, yeah, seems legit.
I wonder if the dashboard is also Ember. I imagine so, because the other sites like Betterment, their launch page is the same technology as their the dashboard, because it just kind of rolls into it and says loading. And Acorns, I think, works the same. So
right.
So yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool. And the last thing we're going to cover is another blog post by Lauren Tan. This one is surprisingly about components.
Yeah, I feel like it's not quite an Ember weekend without covering Lauren Tan's blog post. So this is good. Anyways, this one is mostly about dependency injection, and she does a really good job of explaining what dependency injection is and how you kind of invert the control by passing objects in, makes them more easily testable because you're passing in the objects that you depend on rather than having them have knowledge internal to themselves. So her example was like a bag component. I'm going to do a terrible job. I'm going to butcher it if I do it, but it's a really good example of how dependency injection kind of works on a mental model kind of area. And then she talks about how you can take that same concept that we've been using in Ruby and pretty much any object-oriented language for a long time and apply it into the component layer in Ember. And the idea here is that you use the hash helper to pass in component objects, and it allows you to basically kind of pass in dummy objects and test rather than rely on the implicit naming of the components inside of the components template. So you say you have a container component. Inside that, it has child 1, child 2. Rather than having to have knowledge of child 1 and child 2, you can use the hash helper to pass in C1, C2, and then you don't need to know anything about the state of those components because you're going to pass them in from the outside. So it's a really cool idea, and I think that she even mentions a few helpers that can make it more simple to register dummy components, and it seems like a really, really great strategy for dealing with testing components. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the the critical part of it, I think, is how she registers the dummy component in her test. And she mentions that I think Renspired helped her with that a little bit. But yeah, it was that's kind of like the key point, is that you just got to understand that in your tests you can like register things. You can like on the fly create a component, and register it, and then have that get looked up. So that was pretty cool.
Definitely. It's really cool. Definitely a strategy that I'll probably employ soon. So very cool, and definitely worth a read.
And I love like seeing now the get owner everywhere, because remember how painful this used to be in these kind of tests to be able to inject things. You had to do some kind of like hack
skid containers, skid lookup, blah blah blah.
Right,
blah,
now
blah.
get owners everywhere, and it's like, oh, that's so easy now.
All right, and I think that's it for this Ember Weekend. Thanks for listening. Once again, I am Jonathan Jackson here with
Chase McCarthy. I'm not playing Pokemon right now, I swear.
That was a strange handoff. Next time I'll get that better. So we really like fielding questions. So hit us up on Twitter at Ember Weekend, all one word, on Twitter. If you want to follow along, just pop our RSS feed into your feed reader podcast app of choice, and we will publish. We publish every Monday. We'll be back next week with episode 66. And did we come up with the title of this one, Chase?
Maybe Go Catch 'Em All.
Go Catch 'Em All. Oh yeah. Hey, speaking of that, how many Pokemon have you caught today?
Today, like 20.
20.
Like,
Jeez.
Wait, are you talking unique, or are you talking about like just lobbing Pokeballs? I think.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, so you're into it. You're in it.
Yeah, I mean it's really a disgusting like idea, like that you're just like catching every Pokemon and then you're just turning them into candy for other Pokemon to eat.
Whoa, man! This
dark.
Pokemon Go got pretty dark. Yeah,
I miss Professor Oak. I think this new professor's kind of creepy.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Chase will have caught them all, and we will. We'll see you. We'll see you next weekend.
Yep. See you next weekend.